Our next speaker, Chris Lamoreaux, is the president of Coldwell Banker Home Source. She manages the #1 residential real estate firm in the desert with 6 offices. 170 agents and approximately 30 employees. And my wife. Please give her a warm welcome.
What a lot of great, interesting information already, and we're just getting started today. So I know, like you, we all love the high desert. So thank you, Jason Waugh, for talking about the national housing market trends. And I'm going to kick it down to the more regional level, starting with California. So it's exciting because we have median sales prices, Jason said, is continuing to rise. So $829,000 is our state's median sales price, up just over 2% year over year, as well as the number of sales transactions, interestingly, up also just over 2%. Median days on the market, as you can see, up considerable, 18%. Of course, 26 days is really low still. So it's also, sales have rebounded as well to the highest level in 28 months. As you can see, 2.6% year over year. And you can kind of see, and let's see if I'm going to show off to Jason Waugh. Look, there is a laser. They didn't tell him, sorry. But you can see, even though sales are at the highest level in 28 months, it is still relatively low compared to the rest of prior years, other than back here, of course. We all know what happened there. Interesting, though, is that the sales growth is actually strongest in the higher end price point than the lower end, which you can see over here. It surprised me, it may surprise you as well. But either way, sales growth has continued across the board. Also, the median sales price grew for the 20th month in a row, year over year. It's down slightly month over month, but year over year, it continues to grow as well. And you can see, as he pointed out as well earlier today, that the sales price is always going up on a trajectory. So it's always a good time to buy now. It's going to go up. We may have some fluctuations, but it's always a great investment over long term. Homes are still selling over the asking price. In fact, in every county, and you can see where the blue arrow is, that's San Bernardino County, we're almost 30% selling over listing price. So we still have a strong buyer demand, still getting those multiple offers. Just not as crazy as it was in the past few years. Additionally, the price per square foot also grew above last month and last year at $421 for the state of California. And as my slides and everyone's here will be available on our CBC Symposium website, so if you want to take notes, you can, but we will make these available as well. Also, inventory, as you can see, grew up from its level last year, 2.9 months of inventory. Now this February is showing at 4 months, which is, yes, considerably more inventory than we've had in the past, but our industry kind of considers 6 months as a buyer-seller balanced market. So obviously the pendulum has swung more toward the buyer market, but still relatively balanced on that. And now, making it a little more regional, this is fourth quarter 2023 on the left-hand side of the screen, and 2024, a snapshot of those 2 quarters year over year. So you can see we've had an increase in the median sales price in San Bernardino County of 9%, landing at $550 last year. An increase in the number of sales as well, 5.23%. So as you'll see, the trend in our cities will be similar in the sales price, but not so much in the number of transactions. The list to sold ratio is the list price versus what it actually sells for. You'll see that trend continue through our cities as well. It's very strong, and average days on market pretty similar to prior year. So starting with Adelanto, an increase of 8% for their median sales price at $405,000. A decrease, however, in the number of sales, considerable decrease of 13%. I'm sure we all felt that if you're in the industry. But again, solid on the buyer demand. And Apple Valley, again, another increase, 7.5% on the median sales price of $430,000 compared to $400,000 prior year. and basically a small decrease in the number of sales, so relatively flat. And Barstow, the increase of 7.69% went up to 280,000, and slight decrease in the inventory. You can see still 98.8% list to sold ratio. We still have a strong buyer demand there as well. In Hellendale, the number of sales, of course, is a smaller market, but decreased 12%. So not considerable when you look at the numbers, 136 to 155. But they also experienced an increase in the median sales price to 379,000. A little bit more increase in the days on market. It is a little bit more of a vacation homes out there, so they sit on the market a little bit longer typically. And Hesperia, also, as I said, the trend is increase, almost 8% for the median sales price at 460, and a slight decrease in the number of transactions. Very similar trends, but as you can see, the median sales price does differ in each of the markets. But Phelan, this is the anomaly in the market with an increase of 16%, as you see on their number of sales. Of course, it is a relatively small market as well, but is the only city that reported an increase in number of transactions this year. And an increase as well of sales price at over 2%, landing at 460,000. A tremendous decrease, as you can see in the days on market, but 64 was quite high in that market. So glad to see it's moving quickly. And Victorville, as you can see as well, 6.21% increase, so at 445, and a slight decrease in their number of sales. But again, as the story goes, pretty much list to sold price ratio remaining strong throughout our market. So thank you to these next two slides, Bobby and Mike of Chicago Title. It's a very interesting diversion here of the, if you can't see, the red line is the median sales price, and the blue line is the number of homes sold. So you can see, obviously, we had an extreme dip in the number of sales the last couple years, but the sales price continues to increase. So there's a lot of pressure on sales. I know, as you saw, $829,000 is our state median price, whereas our high desert as a whole last month was $430,000. So we're a very affordable market in California. So we have people constantly moving to our market, which we love. But that and other measures are putting the price. And we anticipate, as Jason mentioned earlier as well, across the board and nationally, that we'll probably see 2 to 4% increase. But I don't have a crystal ball, but that's my gut. And, you know, the REOs, notice the defaults, also very low. So you can see, I like this graph too, because sometimes we hear in the news headlines that there's an increase. Well, there is, but it's very slight and relatively speaking. Of course, it's nothing like the Great Recession, but it is very low. As mentioned before, of course, there's tremendous equity. In fact, across the board in our cities, if you look just from 2021, you have homeowners have an average of $50,000 to $85,000 in homeowner equity gained. So it's been a solid market in that respect, and that's kind of the bringing it back to the high desert. Just a quick snapshot of year over year. You can see inventory, as we mentioned before, has almost doubled in our marketplace, but we're selling relatively the same number of homes. But it just helps buyers have more choices in their price points and in their neighborhoods, of course. So you can see the median price year over year, 415 to 430,000, and this is a snapshot February to February. So, and then just diving in a little bit closer. These are the markets that we tend to track, and we put this housing market report out monthly. So if you want to be on that mailer list, of course, let us know, or you can find it on our social media, of course. But each market is very unique, and even diving within each market, each neighborhood, each price point, all have different stats and trends. But this is a great overview of each of our local areas here. And that's what I have on that. So, thank you.